Hello everyone, welcome to the Daily Current Affair Analysis brought to you by ShankarIASAcademy, 11th February 2026. Before getting into the discussion, please make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you haven't, please do subscribe and also hit the bell icon to receive on-time updates from the Academy. So coming to the topics for today's discussion, the first topic is Pradhan Mantri SVANidhi Scheme. So we know that Pradhan Mantri SVANidhi Scheme was launched in the year 2020, to empower the life of the street vendors. And in the recent time, we can see a great improvement of this initiative, because nearly 71 lakh people got benefits under the credit facility, and the government is taking a lot of digital initiatives under the Pradhan Mantri SVANidhi Scheme. And the next article is regarding the new startup rules for deep tech. So recently, the Department for the Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade issued a notification that clearly defining what type of startups can be classified as deep tech startups. And the next article is regarding the Thwaites Glacier. So it is located in the western part of Antarctica, and it is also known as Doomsday Glacier. So we will be discussing what is the significance or why we have to understand about this Thwaites Glacier. And the next article is a mains article, reset in India-Malaysian ties. So recently, the Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited the Kuala Lumpur, the capital of Malaysia. So we will be discussing the India-Malaysia relation, what are the key challenges, and how we can improve the India-Malaysia relation, based on this context. And finally, we'll be discussing the Prelims Focus for the day. If all set, let's begin the discussion with the first article. So coming to the first article, it is the improvement under Pradhan Mantri SVANidhi Scheme. Article is taken from the Press Information Bureau. So the Pradhan Mantri SVANidhi Scheme, the full form is Pradhan Mantri Street Vendors Atmanirbhar Nidhi. So it is an initiative launched by the government of India in the June month of 2020 to empower the street vendors in the post-COVID time. So why this article is in the Press Information Bureau? Because we can see that as of now, that is as of January 2026, nearly 71.57 lakh street vendors received the first tranche of credit provided under the Pradhan Mantri SVANidhi Scheme. And in the recent time, the government has taken certain digital initiatives under the SVANidhi Scheme to improve the credit facility. So in this background, let us discuss more about the Pradhan Mantri Street Vendors Atmanirbhar Nidhi. So the full form, Pradhan Mantri Street Vendors Atmanirbhar Nidhi, it is launched in the June month of 2020. And what is the nodal ministry of implementation? It is the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. It is a central sector scheme. It is a central sector micro credit scheme launched by the government of India. So what is the objective? The objective is providing working capital loans to the street vendors, which will help the street vendors to restart their business. It will promote the financial inclusion, and it will build a credit history, and it will encourage the digital transaction. And talking about the loan structure, so how the loan is provided under the Pradhan Mantri SVANidhi Scheme. So instead of providing the complete amount, the Pradhan Mantri SVANidhi Scheme is following a three-tranche model credit system. How this is working? So instead of giving the entire amount, the amount will be given in three different phases, that is in three tranches. So the term tranche is taken from the French, which means slice. So the entire amount will be given in three different phases. So in the first tranche, the borrower can access up to 10,000 rupees. And in the second tranche, they can access up to 20,000, and in the third tranche up to 50,000. But there is a condition. That means if a person wants to access the second tranche, then he has to complete the repayment of the first tranche. If he is not able to complete the repayment of the first tranche in 12 months, then he cannot access the second tranche. That means he can access the second tranche only after completing the first tranche. And we can see that the features. So the working capital term of the loan is up to 1 year. That means each tranche has to be repaid within 12 months. And what is the interest? The interest subsidy is 7% per annum. For example, for the 10,000 rupees, the interest is 7,000 rupees. And we have to understand that a portion of the interest, a portion of the 700 rupees will be credited back to the borrower's account in every 4 months. So if the street vendor is taking the loan in the month of January, then February, March, April, May. So in the May month, he will be receiving a portion of the credit back to his account. So the working capital loan, the tenure is 1 year for a tranche, and the interest subsidy is 7% per year, and then we have to understand that a portion of the credit will be credited back to the account of the borrower every fourth month, and there is no collateral, so there is no fear of loss, and incentivize the digital transactions. For example, if the repayment, if the borrower is using the digital payment system, then he will be receiving certain benefits like cashbacks or reduction in the amount and all. And what is the purpose? It will prevent the, so why the government adopted such a loan structure? First of all, it will prevent the debt trap in the street vendor community. So there is no fear that they will fall into a great debt trap, because the amount is given in different phases, and in the first phase they are taking only 10,000 rupees, and in the second phase they will be getting 20,000. So there is no fear that they will fall into a big debt trap. And another thing is that it will promote this three-tranche model, will promote a habit of repayment. So here the government is focusing on empowerment, and also the government is focusing on bringing a healthy credit habit among the in the economy. And talking about the recent improvements, so we can see that the scheme was restructured in the year of 2025. So now the lending period extended up to the March month of 2030. So till March month 2030, we can get the benefit under the Pradhan Mantri SVANidhi Scheme. And the coverage of the scheme also got expanded to census town, urban agglomeration, and peri-urban areas. And what is the new feature? Bringing or introduction of the UPI-linked RuPay Credit Card, for the street vendors who repaid the second tranche. So recently the government introduced the UPI-linked credit card, RuPay credit card, for the vendors who repaid the second tranche. So to get this credit card, you have to pay the second tranche of your loan. And we can see that as of the data, that means according to the data as of February 2026, nearly 15,184 applications were received for the benefit, and out of this application, nearly 2,479 cards are issued so far. So this will improve more liquidity in the economy, and also it is a step towards financial inclusion. And achievements and impact. So if you take the data from the last 5 years, we can see that like I mentioned in the beginning, 71.57 lakh street vendors received the first tranche of the loan, and 27.28 lakh received the second tranche of the loan, and 6.61 lakh received the third tranche of the loan. And a recent study by the Indian School of Business, they found that between 2023 and 2024, there is a 20% rise in the average income of the street vendors, and we can see that as of now, nearly 30% of the borrowers access to the formal loan source. That means 30% of the beneficiaries under the Pradhan Mantri SVANidhi Scheme are accessing the loan from the formal sources, and this is indicating more financial inclusion and credit history building in the economy. And talking about the implementation and governance mechanism, so the identification authority, so the state governments and the urban local bodies will be identifying the beneficiaries under the or the people who are eligible under the Pradhan Mantri SVANidhi Scheme. And we have outreach measures. What is the purpose of outreach measures? Informing the people regarding the benefits and regarding the scheme, right? So for that we have the education campaigns through radio, TV, and newspaper. Then we have the Lok Kalyan Mela, which were held between September and October 2025, and then we have the SVANidhi Sankalp Abhiyan, which launched, which happened between November and December 2025, and then we have certain digital literacy camps. All these are focusing on spreading information regarding the benefits under the Pradhan Mantri SVANidhi Scheme, and also regarding the other government initiatives. And talking about the digital push, like I mentioned, incentives are provided for the people who are using digital mode of transactions under the Pradhan Mantri SVANidhi Scheme, and that includes incentives like cashback, and also we can see that collaboration with the digital payment aggregators. So this will improve more digital transactions in the economy, and also this is another step towards the financial inclusion. So we'll see a prelims practice question. The question is, with reference to the PM SVANidhi Scheme, consider the following statement. Statement 1, it is implemented by the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. Statement 2, the third tranche loan under the scheme is available without repayment of the second tranche. And the third statement, the scheme provides interest subsidy on working capital. And the fourth statement, the scheme has been extended till March 2030 until the restructured framework. So from our discussion, we can easily rule out the second statement. So without repayment, we cannot access the next tranche. So the statement 2 is incorrect. So if the statement 2 is incorrect, then 3 options can be eliminated. Then the right answer will be option A, that is 1, 3 and 4. Let's check. Yes, with this we will move to the next article. So coming to the next article, it is the India's new startup rules for deep tech. The article is taken from The Hindu. So what is the news? So last week, the Department for the Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, working under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, issued a notification that clearly defines what type of startups can be classified as deep tech startups. So we are hearing this term deep tech or deep technology for the last 10 months at least, right? Frequently in the news. So what is mean by this deep tech or deep technology? So we know that technology, but deep technology is something different, which has a capacity to bring a major breakthrough in the science. For example, areas like artificial intelligence and machine learning, semiconductors and chip design, quantum computing, biotechnology, space, defense, all these areas can be robotics, all these areas can be considered as deep technology. And what are the major characteristics or the features of this deep technology? It includes long gestation period. That means to bring an output or to bring a research breakthrough, we need at least 3 to 5 years or sometimes from 5 to 10 years. That means we cannot expect an immediate return from this deep tech investment. And the next is high intensity. That means high research and development intensity. So, it requires more capital. It needs more capital and need of patient capital, difficulty to replicate. So without the scientific principles, without applying the same methodology, we cannot replicate the same breakthrough or the same product. So the other, the breakthrough or the output of one startup is not easily replicate. Another startup cannot replicate the same output, and it is not just app-based platform or application. So like I mentioned, when we talk about the technology in the digital time, we usually think about application or online platforms or portals. But the deep technology is something more, not just the application or online platforms or portals. So these are the deep technology according to the Department for the Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade. And who defines the deep tech startup in India? That is the Department for the Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade through an interministerial certification. Interministerial certification is a certification provided by a panel constituted by the Department for the Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade. So we have to note that all the important startups are not deep tech, and it must show, that means the deep tech startup must show technology risk, not just the market risk. For example, when we talk about the machine learning, or when we talk about the space technology, or when we talk about the artificial intelligence, we are not just talking about the market risk or the market of this technology. We are also talking about other aspects of this technology. For example, how the AI is impacting the governance, how the AI is impacting the freedom, how the AI is impacting the politics. So all these areas are covered. So the deep tech is not just about the technology or not just about the market. It has to cover a wide area. And why deep technology requires a special rule? So we have a lot of initiatives like Startup India for the promotion of startups in India, right? But the traditional startup framework will not work for the deep technology startups, because the features of the deep technology is very unique, because it needs long gestation, and that means long research and development period, more capital burn, regulatory approval. So we cannot approve a deep tech startup like a usual startup. For that, we have to go through a lot of complex formalities and talent intensive ecosystem. So finding the resource people is very difficult. So we can start a new business or a startup with usual people with normal knowledge or the qualification, but that is not the case of the deep tech. For example, if you want to start a startup based on artificial intelligence or machine learning, then we need engineers from that area. So we need proper resource people. And what is the objective? So strategic autonomy. So for example, research in the field of defense, space, and the artificial intelligence will ensure strategic autonomy for the nation. And import substitutions. And this deep technology also has market value. For example, the robotics, such areas has market value. And deep tech, global competition. So like I mentioned, if we can boost this area, definitely India can boost the export competition. we can, in the coming days, we can even compete with the China. So it has strategic, it is important because it will ensure strategic autonomy, it will provide import substitution, it will also boost the export competition. So coming to the prelims practice question, the question is with reference to the deep tech startups in India, consider the following statements. Statement 1, they are primarily based on fundamental scientific and engineering innovations. Statement 2, Department for the Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade is responsible for recognizing the startups as deep tech startups. And statement 3, all technology based startups are classified as deep tech startups. So this statement is an absolute and extreme statement, so definitely it is incorrect. So if we can eliminate the statement 3, then we can eliminate option D and C. And going to the option 1, the statement 1, they are primarily based on fundamental scientific or engineering innovations. Yes. DPIIT is responsible for recognizing startups as deep tech startups. Yes. So the statement 2 is correct, statement 1 is correct. So the correct answer is option A, 1 and 2 only. With this, we will move to the next article. Why does Thwaites Glacier matter? The article is taken from the Hindu. So this article is talking about the importance of the Thwaites Glacier, also known as Doomsday Glacier. So this glacier is located in the western part of Antarctica, and it has a size of a large country, and it is usually called as Doomsday Glacier because the health of this glacier is very important for the stability of the Antarctica in the western part. And we can see that if this glacier melts, if this entire glacier melts, then it will lead to the rise of sea level by at least 0.5 meter. And we can see that the location of this glacier also a concern, because the glacier, the Thwaites Glacier, the Doomsday Glacier, is located on a sloping bedrock. And at the same time, we can see that in the case of Antarctica, there is a possibility of entry of the warm ocean water into the base of this glacier. If the base of the glacier is weakened, that means the entire structure is getting weak, and this will lead to a condition called marine ice sheet instability. That means the entire region will become unstable. And we can see that if you take the case of the Antarctican landmass, we can see that it is arranged like a slice of cakes, right? It is arranged like the slice of cakes or biscuits in the packet. So if one falls, then it will trigger a chain reaction. As a result, if one part of this glacier or the landform is affected, then it will trigger a chain reaction. That means the upcoming or the parts located behind this landmass will also be affected. So if this Doomsday Glacier, if the Thwaites Glacier is affected, then it will instabilize or it will destabilize the entire region. And we can see that regarding the Antarctica, we have to understand one more concept, that is the ice shelf. So what is meant by ice shelf? Ice shelves are the extension of glacier into the ocean. So if you have watched many films like Madagascar and all, you might have seen this floating pieces of glacier in the Antarctica. So it has a function. It acts like a doorstep. That means it will block. Like I mentioned, if you take the landmass of Antarctica, it will be like pieces of cake. So this floating ice will block this landmass from entering into the warm ocean water. So what happens? This will slow the glacier flow into the ocean. Through that, it will stabilize this region. But the current concern is that this ice shelf is also thinning. It is also breaking. As a result, because of the accelerated climate change, this is also this ice shelf is thinning, and this is accelerating the melting of the Antarctican landmass. And we have to understand that the loss of the ice shelf will not always directly lead to the intense rise of the sea level, but it will lead to the faster land ice discharge. So what is meant by faster land ice discharge? So like I mentioned in the case of the cake, if this region is affected, this floating ice or the ice shelf is it's breaking and it is thinning, then it will lose the capacity to slow down the landmass behind it. That means more glaciers will enter into the warm ocean water, and like I mentioned, it will trigger a chain reaction. Eventually, slowly, one by one, the entire region will be destabilized. And in the recent time, like I mentioned, we are observing the thinning, retreating, and loss of the landmass in the Antarctica. That is the loss of the glacier of the Antarctica. And if you take this satellite picture, we can see the difference, right? Before that, before we can see, the coverage of the ice in this region, but now the entire landmass itself is visible. That is indicating that the accelerated loss of the glaciers. And talking about the sea level impact, So like I mentioned, the Doomsday Glacier, why it is defined or nicknamed as Doomsday Glacier, because the total melt of or the collapse of this Thwaites Glacier could rise the sea level up to 0.5 meters, and this will affect the coastal community because it will lead to coastal flooding, it will rise the sea level, it will lead to salinization means the ocean water will enter into the surrounding fresh water and agriculture field, so the agriculture and the drinking water will be affected, and infrastructure damage because of the coastal flooding. And we can see that sea level rise is not global, it is global, not local. That means not if the ice is melting, if the Thwaites Glacier is melting, not just a particular region is going to be affected, the entire world is going to be affected. Because we can see that if you take this picture, we can see that before there are many green dots, which is indicating a safe level of sea level rise below say 0.5 percentage. But now if you take the present data, we can see increased number of orange and red dots, that is indicating that all the regions are slowly one by one becoming reaching the high risk zone of the sea level rise because of the accelerated glacier melting. So in this topic we discussed what is Doomsday Glacier or Thwaites Glacier, where it is located, why it is important, and then we also discussed how this ice shelf in Antarctica is protecting the health of the Antarctic ecosystem. So with this we will move to the prelims practice question. The question is, with reference to Thwaites Glacier, consider the following statements. Statement 1, it is located in West Antarctica and forms part of the West Antarctica ice sheet. Statement 2, its bedrock slopes downward inland, allowing warm ocean water to melt it from below. Statement 3, the ice shelf attached to it helps slow down the glacier's movement in the ocean. Statement 4, complete collapse of the Thwaites Glacier could raise a global sea level by several meters on its own. So which of the statements given above is or are correct? Option A 1, 2 and 3, option B 1 and 4 only, option C 2, 3 and 4 only, and option D 1, 2, 3 and 4. So from our discussion we told that it is located in West Antarctica. Yes, it forms the part of the West Antarctica ice sheet. So the statement 1 is correct. Statement 2, we discussed the location of the Thwaites Glacier. So that time we told that the slope will allow the warm ocean water to enter into the base, and it will lead to the basal melting, and that condition is known as marine sheet instability, right? So the statement 2 is also correct. And statement 3, the ice sheet attached to it helps slow the glacier's movement into ocean. Yes. And statement 4, the complete collapse of the Thwaites Glacier could raise global sea level by several meters on its own, not several meters, up to 0.5 meters. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? So from our discussion we can say that it is option A 1, 2 and 3 only. Yes, with this we will move to the next article. So coming to the next article, back on track on Malaysia-India ties. The article is taken from The Hindu. So on February 7 and 8, the Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi, visited the Kuala Lumpur, the capital of Malaysia, and this visit is very important because this is a first foreign visit of Mr. Modi in the year 2026, and also in the recent time, if you take the India-Malaysia relation, normally it is very good. It is good. But in the recent time, due to certain issues, for example, the issue between India and Pakistan, the tension between India and Pakistan affected the India-Malaysia relations as well. After the Pahalgam incident, the Malaysia asked for a full inquiry into this incident and also supported de-escalation and dialogue between India and Pakistan. But in the October month of 2025, the Malaysia hosted the Pakistan Prime Minister, Mr. Shahbaz Sharif. So therefore, the visit of Mr. Modi to Malaysia is very important strategically, and also it is a part of resetting the India-Malaysian ties after a slight strain in the recent time, and also it is very important for the India's Act East policy. So talking about the strategic and the security convergence, so we can see that Malaysia, it supports, like India, it also supports anti-terrorism. So both countries can cooperate in countering terrorism, and other areas of cooperation in security includes intelligence and information sharing, counter-terrorism financing through coordinated efforts with the Financial Action Task Force and the United Nations. And we can see that engaging with the Malaysia is an important hub of the Southeast Asian region. So through engaging with Malaysia, we can address some of our issues at the global level. That means especially in the eastern part of the world. For example, the cross-border terrorism, and we can discourage the states from supporting the terrorist activities or extremist finance. And talking about the economic and technological cooperation, so there we have to understand that Malaysia is one of the important electronic manufacturing hubs in the Southeast Asian countries. Okay, it is one of the most important electronics manufacturing hubs of the Southeast Asian region. Therefore, it is very important. Malaysia is very important for India's some of the, some objectives like the semiconductor mission, supply chain diversification, for example, the China plus one strategy. So, for example, across the world, including America, everyone is depending on China for the goods, right? So, engaging with especially the China is good. They are very good at producing electronics and electrical products. So, if we can diversify our supply chain, then we can reduce the dependence on China. So, engaging with Malaysia, since Malaysia is one of the most important electronic manufacturing hubs of Southeast Asia, it will support the semiconductor mission of India. It will support the supply chain diversification, that is the China plus one policy. And through this visit, we are also expecting a decision regarding the memorandum of understanding on setting up of IIT Madras Global and also Advanced Semiconductor Academy of Malaysia. And other areas of the focus are trade and investment, defense cooperation between both nations, energy transition, and digital technologies. And talking about the ASEAN and the trade and diplomacy dimension. So we signed this ASEAN India Trade in Goods Agreement that is in the year 2009. And recently, India even attempted to review and renew this agreement with the Southeast Asian countries. Because if you take certain countries, for example, Malaysia is one of the important manufacturing hubs of Southeast Asia. And like Singapore, it is one of the important importing hubs of Southeast Asia. So logistically, the Singapore is very important. So engaging with the Southeast Asian countries is very important, including engagement with the Malaysia. And ASEAN is among India's largest trading partners, no doubt in that. And central to Act's policy, India skipped the ASEAN summit of October 2025. So it was a diplomatic setback for India, but this visit of PM to Malaysia can reset that also. And talking about the strategic recalibration, visit reassures the ASEAN of India's engagement despite free trade agreement with the United States of America and the European Union. So we can see that recently we signed the mother of all deals with the European Union. So we can ensure the Southeast Asian countries that India will still engage in trade with these countries, even though we signed the trade agreements with the EU and the USA. What happens if we are not giving that assurance? They will go to China. If you are not giving that assurance, then the Southeast Asian countries will shift to China. And talking about the challenges in bilateral relation between India and Malaysia, there are certain issues. For example, trade imbalance, sensitivity over third-party mediation remarks, ASEAN-China economic dependence. So in both areas, the China has high capacity to influence the Malaysia and the Southeast Asian countries. And the next issue is this Zakir Naik extradition issue. So Zakir Naik, we know that he is one of the most prominent orators, religious scholars and all. But he is charged with certain cases in India. And in the year 2016, he escaped to Malaysia. And even today, the Malaysia is not ready to hand over Zakir Naik to India. And there are certain structural constraints. For example, Malaysia's strong trade link with the China, no need to say. And also India is also not ready to open all the sectors for China. For example, imagine that all the sectors for Malaysia. For example, imagine that Malaysia is asking for accessibility to the dairy sector. India's answer will be definitely no. We did not even open the sensitive sectors to the European Union even after signing the mother of all deals. So therefore, these are the certain structural constraints existing between India and the Malaysian ties. So what can be done? Why Malaysia matters for India? But still we have to engage with Malaysia because Malaysia is a gateway to ASEAN, key maritime location, especially the Strait of Malacca. Even all the products like Chinese products, all the products are importing and exporting through this area only. And electronic and semiconductor ecosystem because it is an important manufacturing hub of Southeast Asia and Muslim majority nation with a moderate global view. So we know that even though Malaysia has a Muslim majority population, we usually won't hear the name of Malaysia regarding any crimes or transnational crimes like terrorism and all. So ensuring a proper stable relation with Malaysia is very important for India to get the support from all the communities to address problems like cross-border terrorism and all. And talking about the way forward, so how we can better the relation with the Malaysia or the Southeast Asian countries. For that, we have to revive the ASEAN India Trade in Goods Agreement, which was signed in 2009, and we have to deepen the defense maritime cooperation with the Southeast Asian countries, institutionalizing counter-terrorist mechanisms in through engaging the Southeast Asian countries, expanding digital and semiconductor value chains. That means diversifying the supply chain and broader strategic outcomes. So reinforces the activist policy. That means engaging with the ASEAN countries, including Malaysia, will definitely support the India's objective in the Eastern world. Strengthens India's Indo-Pacific position. So we know that China, a big power, is there. No, they are no more a sleeping dragon. So engaging with this area will also ensure rule of law and order in the Indo-Pacific region, and it will demonstrate diplomatic maturity in managing episodic tension. So we know that last year the Prime Minister could not visit Malaysia. There was an invitation regarding the ASEAN meeting, but Prime Minister could not visit Malaysia. But this time we can see that his first visit is to Malaysia. So this is showing the maturity in handling diplomatic issues even after a flight train in the relation between two countries. So now we'll see the mains practice question. The question is, India's Malaysia relations reflect both challenges and opportunities inherent in India's active policy. Discuss the context of the recent diplomatic developments. So it's a 15 marks question and you have to write around 250 words. Write the answer, post it in the comment section. We will review and we will reply for your answer. Now it's time to move to the prelims focus. So for the today's prelims focus, the first topic is evolution of kangaroos to hop. So a recent study challenges the existing belief regarding the evolution of kangaroo and its skill of hopping. So we widely believed that the ancestors of the present-day kangaroo were larger and they were not able to hop. But a recent study found certain physiological features that enables the kangaroo to hop for a very long distance, which means the larger ancestors of the present-day kangaroo also had the skill of hopping. So what are the physiological features? The first is on metatarsals. So this region of the leg. So those metatarsals will enable the kangaroo to handle the weight and resist the bending force. And the next is calcaneus. Calcaneus is the wider heel bones of kangaroo. So the kangaroos will be able to handle high tension created during the time of landing. And the next topic is legitimate application of ammonium nitrate. So recently the Nagaur police seized 10,000 kg of ammonium nitrate from the remote region of the district. So we know that ammonium nitrate, one of the highly explosive agents, therefore it is primarily used for mining and quarry activities. And it is used for blasting, and through blasting we will break the rock and then we will extract the mineral. That is the purpose of the ammonium nitrate in mining. And we can see that if you take the global market share, around 70 to 80% of the global consumption of ammonium is going for the mining activities. And it is also used in the agriculture, primarily in the fertilizer. It is used in nitrogen-rich fertilizer. Sometimes it is applied directly in the soil. Sometimes we will be applying through foliar spray. And it is used for the cultivation of wheat, rice, sugarcane, and some of the vegetables. And for the industrial purpose, since it is an explosive agent, it is used for explosives manufacturing. For example, gunpowder, for the defense purpose and all, we are using the ammonium nitrate, but it is regulated and licensed by the government. That means only the licensed parties can manufacture or use this ammonium. And the next is the construction blasting. For example, we will use the ammonium in case of mining, for the creation of tunnels and dams. And since it has anti-freezing agent, it is also used in cold packing and also in de-icing, de-icing certain products. And it is also used in pharmaceutical industries. So these are the primary purpose of the ammonium nitrate. And the next topic is the National Human Rights Commission on re-verification of government staff with disabilities. So recently the central government issued an advisory and revised the standard of protocol to verify the disability certificate of the government officials. So in this issue regarding this advisory, the National Human Rights Commission stated that the re-verification of the disability certificate will lead to anxiety, depression, fear, and insecurity in the government staff with disabilities. And the government they responded that this SOP is applicable only to the new applicants, not to the existing beneficiaries, and not that according to the according to the order from or the statement from the National Human Rights Commission, we cannot go for mass re-verification of the disability certificates of the government officials. And also there are certain acts and certain frameworks that supports the statement of the National Human Rights Commission. For example, the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act of 2016. This guarantees rights and entitlements for persons with disabilities, including the employment. And next we have the unique disability ID card. So this serves as a single document enabling accessibility to benefits for persons with disabilities. So that means you cannot have a suspicious monitoring or a constant surveillance over the disability certificate of the people with or the staff, government staff with the disabilities. So that is a statement given by the National Human Rights Commission regarding the government advisory to revise the standard of procedure to re-verify the government certificates, the disability certificates for the government staff. So talking about the prelims practice question, the question is ammonium nitrate, often seen in news, is widely used in agriculture, but is also strictly regulated because it is primarily a pesticide used for insect control in crops. It is a naturally occurring mineral extracted directly from the rock deposits. It is exclusively used in nuclear power plants as a coolant agent. And option D, it can act both as a nitrogen-rich fertilizer and also a potential explosive under certain conditions. So comment the answer in the comment section. With this, we are coming to the conclusion for today's prelims focus. With this, we are coming to the conclusion for today's current affair analysis. If you like the video, hit the like button, give your feedbacks as comments, and share this content with your friends. And before leaving this channel, don't forget to subscribe and also hit the bell icon to receive on-time updates from the academy. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you for listening to me. Have a nice day.